You open a beer, golden bubbles rise. The day suddenly feels a little more manageable. But what if this drink, the one next to your pizza, your football game, your office barbecue, isn't just a drink? What if it's one of humanity's earliest inventions, a creation so old it may have built the very idea of civilization itself? Today, we're tracing beer's 10,000-year journey, from sacred rituals to frat parties, from clay pots to chrome taps, to see how this bubbly brew quietly changed the world. Because whether you realize it or not, every time you raise a glass, you're basically holding history with a little foam on top. Hey, I'm Frank, and this is Secrets of Simple Things. Let's pour out a story about the world's most popular drinks, beer, from their ancient history to the modern products. Don't forget to hit bell, like and subscribe our channel, and let's get started. Beer, when you strip away the marketing and the mustaches, is wonderfully simple. Grain, water, yeast. That's it, no mystery. Just carbohydrates meeting microorganisms and deciding to party. Fermentation is nature's little science trick. You leave porridge out too long, wild yeast crashes the bowl, eats the sugar, and a happy accident with a pleasant buzz. Someone 10,000 years ago probably said, "Oops," took a sip and thought, "Actually, not bad." Beer became liquid bread, food you can drink, calories you can carry, happiness you can pour. It was, perhaps, the best mistake humans ever decided to repeat. When beer built civilization. Around 13,000 years ago, people started settling down. Why? For farming? For progress? Or for beer? Some archaeologists seriously think early humans began growing grain not for bread, but for brewing. Apparently, the call of a cold one was stronger than the call of agriculture. And once we started growing barley, we had to stay put. Tend crops, dig canals, build storage. Suddenly, you've got irrigation, taxation, and complaining about your neighbor's goats. In other words, civilization. Even ancient myths agreed. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the wild man Enkidu becomes human only after drinking beer. 7 jugs later, he's civilized, and probably regretting it the next morning. So maybe humanity didn't rise for bread, it stood up for beer. The god of fermentation. In Egypt, beer wasn't just popular, it was divine. The god Osiris supposedly taught humans how to brew. And the goddess Hathor? She once got so angry, she almost destroyed humanity, until the gods tricked her with a vat of beer dyed red to look like blood. She drank it all, passed out, and the world was saved. So technically, the first hangover also saved civilization. In Sumer, priests and peasants shared beer in temple rituals, proof that the sacred and the slightly tipsy could coexist. To drink beer was to honor the gods, to celebrate fertility, to socialize, and, let's be honest, to make farming festivals a lot more fun. Beer as currency. Beer wasn't just holy, it was salary. Egyptian workers who built the pyramids were paid partly in beer, about 2 liters a day. That's hydration, nutrition, and motivation all in one mug. The first employee benefits package. The Sumerians even had laws for it. The Code of Hammurabi regulated beer quality and tavern conduct, meaning humanity invented bar rules before we invented democracy. And somewhere in Nubia, ancient brewers accidentally created antibiotics while fermenting their beer. Imagine that. The cure for infections hiding inside happy hour. Beer fed the builders, healed the sick, and paid the workers, long before coins jingled in pockets. Fast forward to medieval Europe. the monks are in charge. Brewing became a holy science. Picture rows of patient brothers in hoods, tasting batches, taking notes like, needs more holiness. Before hops, they flaw red beer with herbs called gruit. But in Bavaria, someone tossed in hop flowers and everything changed. The bitterness balanced the sweetness, and hops acted as a preservative. Beer could now survive long journeys and long sermons. Then came 1516 and the Reinheitsgebot, Germany's legendary beer purity law. Only water, barley, and hops allowed. Yeast wasn't even listed because, well, they didn't know yeast was doing the work. It was the quiet hero behind every monk's smile. From prayers to pubs, the monks transformed brewing into both science and art, and gave Europe its favorite pastime. The evolution of beer styles. Over time, beer has changed, just like fashion, but with fewer regrettable choices. There are two main tribes, ales and lagers. Ales ferment warm and fast, bold, fruity, unpredictable. Lagers ferment cold and slow, crisp, polite, reliable. Think of ales as the poets, lagers as the accountants. In 1842, a Czech town called Plzeň gave the world Pilsner, pale, golden, and revolutionary. It was the Beyoncé of beers, clear, glamorous, instantly iconic. Then the British brewed India Pale Ale, strong and bitter enough to survive the long ship voyage to their colonies. Centuries later, it returned home as the hipster's fare right, the craft IPA. By the time the 20th century rolled around, the world's beer landscape had changed again, and this time it was colder, cleaner, and quieter. Thanks to modern refrigeration and industrial brewing, the lagers once unique to Central Europe could now be brewed almost anywhere. Their crisp, refreshing taste, consistent, dependable, and easy to drink, conquered the planet. In this new age of machines and marketing, the old titans of taste, the dark porters, the heavy stouts, the bitter IPAs, began to fade from public favor. Beer became lighter, simpler, safer. Every pint looked the same, tasted the same, and, let's be honest, inspired about the same amount of excitement as tap water with ambition. But trends, like yeast, have a way of coming back to life. In the 1970s, in Britain, a few stubborn beer lovers decided they'd had enough of blandness. They formed a group with a name that sounded half like a protest and half like a pub crawl: the Campaign for Real Ale, or CAMRA. Their mission? To rescue traditional British ales from extinction, to save beer with flavor, beer with texture, beer that actually tasted like beer. And somehow, against all odds, they did it. Across the Atlantic, something equally rebellious was brewing. In 1978, the United States, a nation still recovering from the trauma of light beer commercials, legalized homebrewing for the first time since Prohibition. And that one law changed everything. Suddenly, a new generation of hobbyists and dreamers started experimenting in basements and garages. They mixed malts and hops like mad scientists, pushing boundaries and ignoring rules. Some burned their first batches, others nailed them, and a few of those weekend tinkerers would later go on to build the first microbreweries of the modern age. At the time, there were only 89 breweries operating in the entire United States. Today, there are more than 9,000, with new ones opening every week, each with its own personality, philosophy, and pun-based name. From Portland to Prague, from Tokyo to Cape Town, the craft beer revolution spread like good gossip. People no longer wanted just a beer. They wanted their beer, something that reflected their taste, their community, their curiosity. And as breweries multiplied, so did the creativity. Forgotten styles found new life. IPAs made a roaring comeback, this time stronger, hoppier, hazier. Porters and stouts returned from retirement with rich, roasted confidence. Fruity wheat ales, spicy saisons, chocolate-infused stouts. Beer was no longer a single drink. It was an entire language of flavor. But one of the most unexpected comebacks came from a taste once feared: sourness. Before modern refrigeration, sour beer was common. Wild yeast and bacteria would sneak into open vats and transform the brew, turning it tart within days. For centuries, this was considered a brewing disaster, a beer gone bad. But history, as always, has a sense of humor. Today, that same tangy profile is celebrated. The softly acidic Berliner Weiss from Germany, once called the Champagne of the North, has returned to trend. The Belgian Gueuze, a blend of aged lambics that ferment for months inside dusty bottles, has become a cult favorite. Modern craft brewers, inspired by these ancient mistakes, now experiment fearlessly, adding fruit, spices, even coffee or chilies to create new sour hybrids that defy classification. Every new pour is a conversation between past and present. You can taste medieval monks whispering advice to tattooed brewers in Brooklyn. You can feel the echo of ancient Sumerians in every new fermentation tank that bubbles in a suburban garage. Fast forward to now, we have tons of choices, such as porters, stouts, kolsch, lambics, each one a liquid story of place and people. Beer is universal, a social language spoken on every continent. 10. The Inca brewed chicha from corn for rituals. The Irish toast with stout every March 17th. Germans dance on tables at Oktoberfest, and Americans pretend to understand craft notes of citrus and pine. Beer moved from temple to tavern, from sacred offering to social glue. We drink to celebrate, to mourn, to negotiate, to forget, to remember. A pint can seal a friendship or end an argument, depending on how many come after. Across time, it's done what few inventions ever could: make strangers laugh in the same language. Beneath the humor and the hangovers, beer is a teacher of patience, of time, of transformation. You can't rush fermentation. You can only trust it. It's chaos, yeast, meeting order, recipe, and somehow harmony appears. Beer is philosophy in disguise. The foam vanishes in seconds, but the flavor lingers, like the good parts of history or the best parts of last night. Maybe beer's real magic isn't alcohol, it's memory, the stories it carries, of farmers, monks, builders, and dreamers who all found meaning in a simple brew. So yes, beer changed the world. It built civilizations, inspired gods, paid workers, sparked science, and filled our Friday nights. From stone jars to steel kegs, from sacred ritual to global celebration, beer has been humanity's companion for 10,000 years. Every glass is a time capsule. Every sip, a conversation with the past. Maybe that's why we still raise our mugs, not just for fun, but to remember who we are. Inventive, imperfect, endlessly curious. It's proof we learned to turn survival into celebration. Cheers to time well brewed. Thank you for joining with us on Secrets of Simple Things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more amazing journeys. Bye for now and see you later.